Oh, and here we are live. It is Tuesday, September 19th at 8 p.m. And Be'ez Hashem, we are going to be reviewing the halachas of fasting on Yom Kippur for pregnant and nursing women. Throughout the presentation, anybody that has questions to ask, there is a WhatsApp chat link at brswest.net/Zoom. Take a look over there, WhatsApp chat link at brswest.net/Zoom. And Be'ez Hashem, anybody that has any questions, comments, suggestions, clarification points will be able to just click that. I have my WhatsApp open right over here. And any questions that are happening will be able to pop up and deal with as they come up. The goal this evening is to reduce everybody's anxiety, that, please God, we should get to Yom HaKippurim with a feeling of confidence and a feeling of good health and a feeling like everything's going to be great and everything's going to be okay. And the more that we know, the easier this becomes. I will share just a short idea as people are logging on and joining the show this evening. Just something beautiful and important and interesting to understand. During the Unasana Tokef, which we say on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, frightening, scary, terrifying. It begins with Kama Ya'avrun v'Kama Yibareun, which I think most Machzorim translate to Kama Ya'avrun, how many will pass, v'Kama Yibareun, and how many will be created. Says the Maskil of David, as well as the Tiferet Shlomo of Radomsk, Kama Ya'avrun is Lashon Ubar. How many pregnancies will there be? V'Kama Yibareun, and how healthy are they going to be? It's all a bracha. None of it is Chalila, God forbid, a scary, terrifying thing. Kama Ya'avrun, how many wonderful pregnancies are they going to be? V'kama yibareun, and wow, how healthy are they going to be? That's the tefillah that we have for Yom Kippurim, in particular for the Holy Chevra that are watching and following along with this presentation. That, please God, by this Yom Kippur, all of those that are davening to have children, will be zochet to have children, all of those that are nervous about their pregnancies, all of the pregnancies should go well and healthy, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give everybody tremendous amounts of bracha and hatzlacha. We're going to move fairly quickly through these halachas because, as we've noted, they're not so complicated. It doesn't need to be something that is terrifying and frightening. All of this is something that, please God, we should be able to get through without anybody being too nervous. And to that end, we are going to begin with fasting on Yom HaKippurim, fasting on Yom Kippur for pregnant and nursing women. A little bit of a general introduction to the halachas of fasting on Yom Kippur. This applies to everybody across the board, men and women over the age of bar and bas mitzvah. And that is, the Torah tells us that there is a mitzvah to fast. There is a mitzvah. It is a positive mitzvah to fast on Yom Kippur. This is a mitzvah mid'oraisa. This is found in Sefer Vayikra. As well as, in addition to the mitzvah d'oraisa, there is an isur d'oraisa, a negative commandment, a negative prohibition against eating of not fasting. How big is this isur? So the Mishnah is at the beginning of the 8th parak of Maseches Yoma tell us that the isur of eating and drinking on Yom Kippur is not like a regular prohibition. Most regular prohibitions do not incur such a severe punishment, but the punishment for a person that unnecessarily, intentionally eats or drinks on Yom Kippur, that punishment is kares, is a spiritual exorcism from the Jewish people, something that chas v'shalom should never happen. Of course, even for those circumstances, there is tshuva, so people shouldn't be nervous as we get close to Yom Kippur about mistakes that might have been made in the past. But Chazal tell us, and of course, this is psukim in the Torah as well, that an inadvertent violator of eating and drinking on Yom Kippur would warrant a korban chatas, one would bring a korban in the days of the Beis Hamikdash. And today, of course, there is tshuva for all of those averos, but we're not chas v'shalom talking about averos. We're talking about, please God, everybody being able to keep halacha 100%. And that is the goal of this evening, is that you should know with confidence that what you are doing, however you are doing it, is correct. And to that end, we are going to get through these halachas as we go. In order to understand this, we need to understand how one can violate Yom Kippur. What exactly is eating and drinking when it comes to Yom Kippur? So you might remember from times that we have learned the halachas of eating matzah on Leil HaSeder, eating on Pesach night, that in order to fulfill the mitzvah of eating on on Pesach, one needs to eat a kazayis of matzah, an olive's worth of matzah. This is not the same with regards to the violation of the Isur of not eating on Yom Kippur. The Mishnah tells us at the beginning of the 8th parak of Yoma that this punishment is only true if a person would intentionally violate the Isur of eating on Yom Kippur by eating a kekoseves hagasa, which is the size of a large date, including the pit, which is a little bit less than the size of an egg, of a kabetza. That's how the Shulchan Aruch tells us. The Mishnah Berurah points out that the reason that there is a different level of eating on Yom Kippur, it's more than a kazayis. In order to violate on a level of deraisa, it would be more than a kazayis. Around, depending on your size of a kazayis, maybe a little less than 2 or a little less than 3 kazayisim would violate the level of deraisa of eating on Yom Kippur. The Mishnah Berurah points out that because on Yom Kippur, the mitzvah is to be afflicted. It's not a question of eating per se. It's a question of affliction. What we are doing is minimizing our relationship with the physical world on Yom Kippur, and that is the prohibition of eating. Okay, that's how you violate it. We're going to get to all of the amounts in a little bit, but just a couple of 30,000 foot perspectives. That is how you violate and incur the Isur Kares. But any amount of food or drink is a biblical prohibition, meaning even a tiny little crumb of food or a tiny little drop of water is also violating the biblical prohibition of eating and drinking on Yom Kippur. And that is because we hold, like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan in the Gemara, that a chatzi shir is asur min haTorah, means a little bit, even if it's not the full amount, is asur min haTorah. And this is important to understand because from time to time people think that eating and drinking shiurim, right, less than the required amount to be chayiv, to be liable for an isur kares, is okay. That's only a derabanan. That's not a derabanan. Not that chalila, that there's something only about the derabanan. Derabanans are certainly just as important as deraisas, though we treat them more leniently from time to time. When it comes to eating and drinking on Yom Kippur, even eating and drinking less than a shir, right, less than the requisite amount to be liable for an isur kares, is also a biblical prohibition. Now, we're going to use the principle of shiurim when we talk about eating and drinking less than the shir with the principle of hakal kodim, that all things being equal, we like to violate less of a isur. Right? It is a lower level biblical prohibition to eat less than the requisite amount to get a chiyuv kares. Still asur, still a problem, unless of course a person needs to, in which case we try to minimize the isur as much as possible. Okay, that is the general introduction to what we are going to be talking about this evening. Now, we should note that no, that's the rain, not a message. Okay, the Torah does not require us to endanger our lives in order to keep mitzvahs. This is important to understand. Even as important as Yom Kippur is, and even as severe as the prohibition of eating and drinking on Yom Kippur is, the Torah does not require us to endanger our lives in order to keep mitzvahs, with the well-known exceptions of murder, sexual immorality, or idolatry. Which means that when we talk about eating and drinking on Yom Kippur, we want to know, should you eat or drink on Yom Kippur? The first question is it pikuach nefesh? Is this a question of life or death? If it is a question of life or death, then one is not just allowed to, one is obligated to eat or drink on Yom Kippur. If there is any risk, chalila, to a person's life, you need to, you are obligated to, you are commanded to eat and drink on Yom Kippur. What if there's no certainty? You're not sure. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's risky. Maybe it's not. The halacha tells us, the Shulchan Aruch, that safek pikuach nefesh, questions of doubt with regards to life or death situations, are just as severe, just as serious as life or death situations. So a safek pikuach nefesh, a question of doubt with regards to life or death questions, is just as severe, just as serious as real, bona fide, certain life or death questions. Safek pikuach nefesh is just like pikuach nefesh. So how do you know, am I being too cautious? So I don't know. If I don't drink this Will I die? Will I maybe die? Chas v'shalom, is any of that a possibility? How do you know if there is overly cautiousness or if this is safek pikuach nefesh or pikuach nefesh? So in general, this I heard from Rabbi Neuberger Shlita, the best litmus test whenever it comes to questions on pikuach nefesh is the Tuesday test. This is the Tuesday test with regards to Hilchah Shabbos. So on Shabbos, we are not allowed to, get in the car and drive somewhere. Are you allowed to get in the car and drive to the hospital? So that depends. Is it pikuach nefesh? Is it life-saving? Is it safek pikuach nefesh? Is it potentially life-saving? So the question is it something that you would do on a Tuesday? That is the litmus test for Shabbos. Is it a Tuesday thing? For example, if a person stubs their toe, would you get in the car and drive to the emergency room? Probably not. On a Tuesday, if a person were to, break their leg, would you go to the hospital? Probably yes. Whenever it comes to what would you do on a Tuesday, that is what we would determine for Shabbos. And this is important to understand. If you were at work and feeling lightheaded, would you feel the need immediately to get up and take a drink if it was a Tuesday? Or would you say, I'll be okay for another few minutes? That's an important consideration to have on Yom Kippur as well. Meaning, imagine that it wasn't Yom Kippur. If you were feeling like this, would you get up and break your fast? Meaning, you're sitting at your desk at work. Would you get up and go to the coffee room and get a drink of water? Would you go over to the water cooler and get a drink of water right now? So that is an important consideration to have on Yom Kippur as well, right? That's the Tuesday test. What would you do on any other day? Now, what about pregnancies? That's about any regular person talking about fasting on Yom Kippur, violating Yom Kippur, violating Shabbos for Pikuach Nefesh. What about pregnancies? So says the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tafresh Yud Zayin Seif Aleph, Uvrus umenikos misanos umashlimos b'Yom Kippurim. Pregnant and nursing women fast and complete their fast on Yom Kippur. We fast the whole fast on Yom Kippur, both pregnant and nursing women. The first time that I ever asked this question to Mori Rabbi Rav Shachta was when my wife was pregnant with our daughter Ayelet. I went to speak to Rav Shachta and I wanted to know what are the halachos for pregnant and fasting women. He said to me, the Shulchan Aruch says that pregnant and nursing women should fast on Yom Kippur. He said, my wife had 9 babies. She fasted all of the Yom Kippurs and all of the Tisha B'Avs, and everything was good and well and healthy. Now, Baruch Hashem. And Baruch Hashem, my wife has done the same. And many, many, many women fast on Yom Kippur in a healthy way, in a good way. Everything works out fine. Everything is beautiful and perfect. The halacha is that pregnant and nursing women should fast on Yom Kippur. The Torah says pregnant and nursing women should fast on Yom Kippur. This is something that the Torah says you should do, which means that in normal circumstances, chas v'shalom, that the Torah would ever tell you to do anything dangerous, the normal standard is that pregnant and nursing women should fast on Yom Kippur without any considerations, without any concerns, without any dangers. This is a normal, healthy, wonderful thing to do. Challenging, of course, challenging, but not something that the Torah is expecting that is unnatural, that is abnormal, that is something that how could you possibly imagine to do such a thing? The normal standard is that pregnant and nursing women should fast and complete their fast on Yom Kippur in a healthy, beautiful, wonderful way. But of course, that's not the case for everybody. Just like it's not the case that non-pregnant, non-nursing men or women don't always fast in Yom Kippur. And to that end, we need to understand some halachas. So the Shulchan Aruch tells us, number 1, pregnant and nursing mothers need to fast as usual. Number 2, we violate Shabbos and Yom Kippur in order to save the life of a fetus. And that is essential to understand, both for the mother and for the fetus. We violate Shabbos, we violate Yom Kippur in order to save those lives. Two important notes. The first note is this still the case today? That we apply the same din of pregnant and nursing women should fast as usual on Yom Kippur. One of the great Gaonim and Gedolim, Rav Yaakov Yisrael Fisher, dying in Yerushalayim, held that the standards of breaking your fast on Yom Kippur today are more lenient than previous generations. And he argued that this is true across the board. because he made the suggestion that pregnant and nursing women, certainly pregnant women today, are weaker than in previous generations. That was Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Fisher's position. This position has not been accepted by the rest of the poskim as a general rule. That's important to understand. That has not been accepted as the general rule by the majority of poskim today, but it is something to keep in mind, to have in your back pocket, that if you are feeling much weaker than your mother and grandmother did, that's something that you shouldn't be astounded by. That's something that you shouldn't be upset by. Rav Yaakov Yisrael Fisher argues that today, the reality of the world is that people are weaker today. And there is therefore room to be more lenient when it comes to fasting than in previous generations. That is note number one. Note number two, and I want to say this in the most absolutely clear terms as possible. If you ask your doctor if you should fast on Yom Kippur, they will always tell you, or almost always tell you, that you're crazy. Of course you should not fast. That is the official accepted medical opinion. Fasting and pregnancy don't go well together. So if you ask a doctor, unsolicited, should I fast on Yom Kippur? They will say, no, you should absolutely not. The question to ask is, not should I fast on Yom Kippur? The Torah says you should fast on Yom Kippur. The question to ask your doctor is there anything about this pregnancy that is outside of the ordinary? Are there any elevated risks to my pregnancy? Those are the questions. Because the Torah says that a normal pregnancy, you should fast. A healthy, normal pregnancy, absolutely, go ahead, fast. Is there something different about this pregnancy? That's a good question. Tell the doctor, I'm planning on fasting. Is there anything that you need to tell me about my pregnancy that is different from other pregnancies? Anything that is strange about this pregnancy? Anything that is concerning about this pregnancy? Not, should a pregnant woman fast? The doctors will absolutely never, ever take it on themselves. Their medical opinion is that you should not fast. But the Torah says you should. So, is there anything different about this pregnancy that I should know about? Are there any risks that I need to be aware of? Assuming that everything is good and well and healthy, excellent, go ahead and fast. So, lehalacha, women who are healthy and present no exceptional medical concern should fast as normal. But there are a number of situations that need to be considered. And these are the exceptions. Exceptions to the rules, exceptions to, and this is true whether the doctor tells you this or the doctor doesn't tell you this. Some of these things will only be able to be told by the doctor, and some of these things you will know by yourself. Exceptions that we need to speak about. And we're going to go through them. 7 exceptions to speak about. You should see them all up on the screen. These are important. We will go through them one by one. The first, women have experienced 2 unexplained miscarriages should eat shiurim. Meaning, if at any point in time in your life as a woman trying to have children, there have been 2 unexplained miscarriages at any stages, even if it's very early, or chas shalom, very late, and there's no reason, doctors don't know why this happened, it's just there was a miscarriage, should assume if you're pregnant, eat shiurim. Even if you're feeling 100%, 1000% perfectly fine, healthy. Not even a question, you're feeling fine, no problems, you should start off eating shiurim on Yom Kippur. 2 unexplained miscarriages, you should eat shiurim on Yom Kippur. Begin Yom Kippur with eating shiurim. Women that have experienced preterm labor. If you have experienced preterm labor, gone into labor earlier than the doctor said you should. Now, a normal pregnancy is 40 weeks. 39 weeks is also normal. 38 weeks is probably normal. Probably earlier than that. Those pregnancies that the doctor says, ooh, that's a little bit early. That's a little bit early to be going into labor. Women that have experienced preterm labor even once, please God, healthy baby, preterm labor even once should be eating shiurim. A woman that has already had labor pains should be eating shiurim if you are already experiencing pains of labor. Now, it's worth differentiating between Braxton Hicks contractions and labor pains, and you'll speak to your doctor about that. But if you are already experiencing pains of labor, absolutely, you should be eating shiurim. A woman that dehydrates easily in normal circumstances, and you know this about yourself. This is not something that your doctor might say about your pregnancy or not. But if you know that you dehydrate easily in normal circumstances, if regularly, on a regular day, you get in the car and you go to work and you are dehydrating more than your friends, more than other women, more than other members of your family, although sometimes this is true within a family, that you dehydrate normally easily in normal circumstances, you should be eating shiurim. A woman that has already experienced bleeding of any type, if you have started bleeding in any way, shape, manner, or form, you should be eating shiurim. Rosh Zalman Auerbach was of the opinion, and lahalacha, I think that it's kedai to hold like this, because this is true physically and it's true emotionally. Rosh Zalman Auerbach argued that IVF pregnancies are often more fragile than other pregnancies, than regular conception. And to that end, Rosh Zalman Auerbach held that even if everything else is normal, there is more leniency that we should apply to IVF pregnancies. And the final thing to consider is somebody that has an unusually shaped uterus or an unusually shaped cervix that might result in more easily triggered labor as a result of dehydration, should be eating shiurim. A word that we should talk about studies. You will find, if you Google these things, that there are a lot of studies about fasting and pregnancy. The vast majority of these studies are inconclusive, and it's also worth considering that the vast majority of studies about fasting and pregnancy were all from women in Eretz Yisrael, because there are no controlled studies about women in the rest of the world fasting and pregnancies. That would be arguably unethical to have a controlled study about fasting and pregnancy. However, there is some medical evidence that towards the end of the 8th month, beginning of the 9th month, there are studies that support that fasting might induce labor. As a general rule, and you will speak to your doctor about this, within the end of the 8th month, beginning of the 9th month, going into labor and having a baby is usually not a problem. A 37-week baby is normally a healthy baby. There's usually no problem of going into labor on Yom Kippur or Matzah Yom Kippur. Usually, there are many healthy babies that are born in Eretz Yisrael Matzah Yom Kippur. It wasn't in Eretz Yisrael. My mom, Baruch Hashem, was born Matzah Yom Kippur. Her mother was fasting. She went into labor towards the end of the Tanis. The story, obviously, I wasn't around to know about it at that point in time, but the story is that my Zayda was a chazan, and they whispered to him that his wife was going into labor during Ne'ilah, and apparently he davened Ne'ilah fairly quickly. That was his first baby was my mom, born Matzah Yom Kippurim, healthy and well. Most babies that are born Matzah Yom Kippur as a result of fasting Yom Kippur are healthy and well. So, yes, it is possible that in the 8th month, towards the end of the 8th month, beginning of the 9th month, pregnancy could end in labor in a healthy, normal way on Matzah Yom Kippur. Speak to your doctor about it. There are studies that seem to support this. The rest of the studies are largely inconclusive. So speak to your doctor about it, but don't be too worried about Googling the studies. Okay. Let's talk about practical halacha. Practical halacha. Assuming that everything is good and normal and healthy, you begin fasting on Yom Kippur, as the Shulchan Aruch says. 2 things to start with. Thing number 1 is stay home, don't go to shul. The chiyuv of fasting on Yom Kippur is certainly more important than going to shul. Get yourself a comfy spot on the couch, a comfy spot in bed, crank up the AC to as cool as you are comfortable with, and spend the day davening, learning, reading, shluffing, taking a nap, at home, enjoying. That is far more important than going to shul. The second, number 2, have emunah. Have emunah. There is a deep sense of emunah in knowing that kapara, achieving kapara, being forgiven on Yom Kippur, is the business of the Ribbon Shalom. Hashem is in charge of forgiving us. And we are not the Baal or Baalas Habayis on our own kapara. The Ribbon Shalom forgives us. He takes care of it. The famous opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi in the Gemara, that Yom Kippur provides kapara, provides with a completely clean slate, even if a person didn't do tshuva. No tshuva at all. Yom Kippur will still atone for you, will still fix you up, will still clean you up. That's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. We don't pass it like that. We hold that you need to do something, a little bit of something, a little bit of a tefillah, a little bit of tshuva, a little bit. You have to do a something. Like the Rambam writes, l'shavim, not to balei tshuva, not to people that have finished the whole tshuva process, even just beginning. You begin something, Ribbon Shalom, I want to have a good year. I want to do tshuva. I want to come closer to you this year. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, amazing. Clean slate, all of your averos washed away. You don't need to go to shul. You stay at home. Have emunah that keeping halacha is the most important thing that the Ribbon Shalom wants from you, and he'll take care of the rest. That's it. That's the first 2 points. The third point, and I say this to the men that are watching, or the women that are watching, to tell their husbands. The husband's role is to be support staff. Rav Melamed writes in Penei Halacha that if a woman is struggling to stay in bed because she is taking care of children at home, the role of the husband is to stay at home and not go to shul in order that the children are taken care of and that his wife can fast on Yom Kippur. That is the klal. That is, husband and wife should both stay home so that she can fast. Daven 5 tefillas of Yom Kippur by yourself. Be yechidus, without anybody else. Without anybody there. Absolutely stay home, fasting, rather than going to shul. Now, there's a week, less than a week until Yom Kippurim. You should arrange a babysitter if you can. Have help. Have somebody come over, non-Jewish babysitter, to help out with taking care of the kids, and that way the husband can go to shul and the wife can stay at home. Both of those things are excellent. But if for whatever reason there is no babysitter available and a pregnant woman is at home by herself taking care of kids and is not going to be able to fast as a result of that, husband should stay home rather than have his wife break her fast. Okay. Question that comes up every year. Can I do shiurim or should I try to fast? Question being, one of 2 things. I can start with shiurim. I can start at the beginning of Yom Kippur taking a little bit of, and we'll talk about what the shiurim are in a couple of moments. I can start with shiurim. I can start with a little bit of food and a little bit of water every few minutes and do that throughout the fast. Or I can fast. But then if I need to break the fast, I'm going to break it in ganzen, completely. Which one is better? And the answer is, it depends. What's the most likely outcome? If it seems like you will end up breaking the fast entirely by trying to fast at the beginning, take shiurim. And if it is possible that you will start fasting, and then at some point in time, you'll start shiurim, that's fine too. That's better. But if by trying to fast at all, you're going to end up breaking it completely, then all bets are off. Start with the shiurim. Start with the shiurim from the beginning if you think that you will end up fasting completely without shiurim. Okay. So when do you start shiurim? When do you start shiurim? If you're experiencing early signs of dehydration, so you want to drink something, so what should you do? Here's the general rules. So you feel, oh my gosh, I'm feeling dehydrated. Should I break my fast? Should I have a shear? What should I do? So the first note is headache or pain that doesn't go away after 20 minutes of lying down. Start shiurim and see how you do. So you're standing, you're davening, you're in the middle of the Shemona Esrei at home, and you have a headache or a pain that doesn't go away after 20 minutes of lying down. Start shiurim. If you are feeling nauseous or vomiting, so nausea and vomiting, as pregnant people know, is normal in most pregnancies, even if it is very uncomfortable. It's not abnormal and it's not dangerous. Usually it's not a sign of dehydration. But if you are feeling nauseous 3 separate times, or you vomit 3 times, that is cause for concern. Start shiurim immediately. So feeling nauseous, lie down, take a nap. If you start to feel nauseous again, or if you throw up 3 times, that's a cause for concern. Start drinking shiurim. When do you break your fast completely? So let's say you were taking shiurim or you weren't taking shiurim. Either or. When do you break your fast completely? At what point in time are you going to say, oh no, I need to break my fast entirely now? 3 cases. Case number 1, if contractions begin in an unusual way or are intensifying, break your fast completely. So let's say that you are in the 9th month and you have been getting regular contractions from time to time. That's a normal thing. During the 9th month, that happens. But if something begins to intensify, or something feels strange about them, or something is not feeling good or normal about the contractions, they're intensifying both in pain or in duration or in frequency. In all of those cases, break your fast completely. If bleeding starts, break your fast completely. And if you go into labor, break your fast completely, because you're going to need strength for labor and delivery. And arguably, by the time you get to the hospital, they're not going to want you to be eating or drinking, because they're going to connect you to IVs. So eat and drink. If you go into labor, oh no, let me have something to drink, which means that you should have all of these things prepared beforehand. Have in your fridge, in your go bag, if you are in the 8th month, or even before that, have a go bag ready in case you are going to the hospital, and have in your fridge whatever drinks, beverages you like, and whatever snacks you like. If you need to break your fast, have everything ready for you to be able to break your fast on the foods that are going to be most helpful for you. We're going to talk about how to do shiurim in a couple of moments and what foods are suggested for those things. Before that, taking medication. Very often, men and women need to take medication on Yom Kippurim. How do you do it? What is the concerns and considerations? And what about eating, drinking with regards to that? So the first thing to note is, in general, uncoated pills are not food. Usually they're fairly small. If you need to take medication, uncoated pills, right? They don't have like flavor. The regular capsules, pills, not food. Take them, no problem. If you can avoid taking them with water, that is much better, and we'll talk about what to do in those circumstances. Pills with coating or with flavor should be avoided. The best practice is, and most of the pills today are not coated. Capsules and gel caps and the regular white kind of pills are not coated. Most of them are not a problem. If there are specific pills, feel free to reach out to me about those, and we can take a look. Best practice with regards to taking pills is to take pills without water. Sometimes you need to break it into smaller pieces. That's usually not a problem. Get a pill cutter before Yom Kippurim and cut up the pills, put them in the little boxes that you get at the pharmacy, and make sure that you have cut them into sizes that you will be able to take them easily without water. If absolutely necessary and you need water, assuming that this is not shiurim, and this is for everybody here, people that are not taking shiurim, you need to take a pill. So fill a 1 ounce shot glass with water that's less than a male lugmov, which we'll get to in a moment. Put in a drop of Listerine. Makes it pogum. That makes it not enjoyable water. Makes it not easily drinkable water. That's not something that's going to be harmful, but it's not good water. It's not good tasting water. Put a drop of Listerine in that, and take your pill with a shot of water that is pogum, that is not good tasting water. We should point out that vitamins are usually not absolutely necessary to take on Yom Kippur. The doctors will often tell you that you need to take prenatal pills or different vitamins while pregnant, or for people that are ill or people that take vitamins daily. Usually, it doesn't really have any harmful effects. It doesn't detract if you take it before the fast and immediately after the fast. Usually, vitamins are not absolutely necessary to take at exactly the same time every day. You can speak to your doctor about your specifics. Is there a problem in taking this with a 25-hour break? Most of the time, there are no problems with that. Okay. An important note that I need to point out, and I need to point this out every single year, and this is true for pregnant women and people in general. Depression and eating disorders are often pikuach nefesh questions in general. Speak to your rabbi and your doctor. If you or a member of your family are suffering from depression, certainly anybody that has any kinds of suicidality, anybody with eating disorders, these are often pikuach nefesh. These are real pikuach nefesh, bona fide pikuach nefesh questions. Speak to your rabbi, speak to your doctor about what is necessary for you and your mental health, or members of your family and their mental health. Make sure that you are taking mental health as seriously as physical health. That is how we paskin lahalacha. Mental health is just as serious as physical health, which is why Rabbi Moshe explains that the husband can get into the car with his wife to go to the hospital while she is in labor. She's in labor. He is not in labor. She can go to the hospital. How come he goes to the hospital? So Rabbi Moshe explains, because she needs him to go to the hospital. That's her mental health concern. She needs to know that her husband is with her going to the hospital. So that is just as important as her getting to the hospital. To the hospital is him getting to the hospital to be there with her. Okay. Let's talk about shiurim. What are these shiurim? So on Yom Kippur, the pachos mikashir, the less than the amount that would be incurring a chiyuv kares of food and drink, are separate. They are independent of each other. That means that two shiurim do not combine, and you can drink and eat pachos mikashir, less than a shiur, simultaneously. They don't combine, and the waiting times between them are also calculated independently. Now, let's talk tachlis. The pachos mikashir, the less than a kukasevas hagasa, is about 1.5 fluid ounces or 45 milliliters. That means if you take a shot glass, which is 1 ounce, get 1.5 ounce, and you fill it with a cracker, right? Crush up a cracker and put it in there, or oatmeal or whatever it might be. Fill that up. 1.5 fluid ounces, 44 milliliters. That is pachos, and calculated in volume. That is pachos mikashir. What is the drink? What is the drink of pachos mikashir? Is male lugmav, a cheekful. How much is a cheekful? Your cheek. How full is your cheek? This is the way that you calculate it. Before Yom Kippur, fill up a cup with water. Drink until you fill up your cheek. Spit that into a measuring cup and see how big your cheekful is. That is, for you, your male lugmav. And what you need to be drinking on Yom Kippur is pachos mikashir. Is less than that if you are drinking shiurim. That is less than the shir, pachos mishir. That is what we are talking about here. Measure it before Yom Kippur. Usually for most people, it is a little bit bigger than 1 ounce. If you don't know, you didn't measure before Yom Kippur, or you're nervous, 1 ounce for sure is fine. 1 ounce for sure is fine. Now, how much should you wait? How much should you wait? So, let's say you were drinking shiurim. So, the most machmir opinion is 9 minutes. 9 minutes between shiurim, which means you drink something, 1 ounce of liquid at 9 a.m. At 9:09, you can drink another shot glass. I highly recommend not to use 9 minutes. Not because I want to be machmer, because I want to make your life much easier. I recommend doing 10 minutes, because that way you don't have to do math on the fast. You don't have to know your 9 times table. You can just do every 10 minutes, starting from on the hour. 9:10, 9:20, 9:30, 9:40, 9:50, 10. How much should you drink? You drink, let's say 1 ounce. That's certainly less than male lugma for everybody. 1 ounce of liquid every 10 minutes around the clock. What is going to come out with is that you are drinking 6 ounces of fluid every hour. 6 ounces of fluid every hour means that you are drinking a soda can of liquid every 2 hours. That's a 12-ounce can. Every 2 hours, drinking a soda can for the vast majority of liquid, for the vast majority of people, is more than enough. Most of the time, most days, most people don't drink more than that. Right? That's probably 8 cups a day and then some. Is to drink 6 hours, 6 ounces of liquid every hour. That is certainly, for most people, going to be more than enough. Now, if you need to be more makel than that, you can go down to 9 minutes, to 8 minutes, even to 3 minutes. Even to 3 minutes, every 3 minutes to drink an ounce if absolutely necessary. Although, if you need to be drinking that frequently, in all likelihood, it's time for you to break your fast entirely. What should you be drinking? What should you be eating? So I highly recommend that the thing that you drink is something caloric, something that is going to help you. It doesn't need to be water. If orange juice is helpful to you to have the sugar, then drink orange juice. If a protein shake is helpful to you, drink the protein shake. If Gatorade is helpful to you, drink Gatorade. Don't make it water, because that's only going to help with hydration. Make sure that you are also drinking something that has some kind of hydration salts in them that are going to be able to replace hydration salts that you're going to be losing during the fast. Drink shiurim that have some kind of nutritional value as well, and figure out the best thing for you. It could be that you have a selection of different shots for every hour. That you have a little bit of a protein shake and a little bit of a Gatorade. That's for drinking. When it comes to eating, figure out food that you will be able to keep down and digest easily. That will be able to help you. Sometimes it's helpful to have candy, to have gummies that are easy to chew, 3 or 4 gummies that fit into a shot glass, and that you can eat that every 5 minutes. That's probably more than what most people are comfortable eating. To have 4 gummies with vitamins every 10 minutes, but you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Figure out the food that are going to be helpful to you, whether it be crackers or whether it be some kind of protein something or workout something, whatever it is that you think will be able to be helpful to you, that is easily digestible. And I highly recommend experimenting with some of these things this week. Most of the time, most women know what they are comfortable with eating and drinking already. But if you're mitlabetet, if you're not sure, so drink a little bit, try different foods and drinks and see how well it sits with your stomach. Don't try new things on the day. This is recommended advice that they recommend to people running marathons. Don't try anything new on the day. No experiments on Yom Kippur itself. You don't want to end up with an upset stomach. Practice, try all of these things, what works for you beforehand. Okay, all of these things so far, we have spoken about people that have illnesses, people that are pregnant, people that are dehydrating. What about nursing? So nursing is usually and oftentimes a very emotional topic. When it comes to nursing, that was our practical tips. When it comes to nursing, so nursing women should fast on Yom Kippur. There is a concern, maybe my milk is going to dry up. What do I do if my milk is going to dry up? So the first thing to note is that you should do everything as much as possible to fast on Yom Kippur, which means arranging a milk substitute for the baby. We're a week before Yom Kippur. Try different things. Pumping milk on the days before Yom Kippur now, in a way that you're not going to dehydrate before Yom Kippur starts. So expressing milk pumping in these days leading up to Yom Kippur will be very helpful. Sometimes, and this happens, my mom tells me that I was such a child. Child refuses to drink anything else other than through nursing. If shiurim will help, to get you through with nursing, the child refuses to drink anything else other than nursing, and shiurim will help. So then use shiurim because the baby needs to be able to drink. People are worried about milk drying up. This is a possibility. It's not that it's impossible. It is a possibility, but it is very, very rare. It's very rare. And usually in like the vast majority of cases, this can be avoided with careful planning. Meaning, careful planning, trying different things with the baby in the week beforehand. pumping milk, shiurim. Most of the time, that is not going to be much of a concern. So what's the game plan? The game plan is to start hydrating 3 days before Yom Kippur. Chazak hydrating with all of the Gatorades and the hydration salts and everything else that you need. Make sure that by the time you get to Yom Kippur, you are super well hydrated. Plan to skip alternate feedings. So whatever time your feedings are, whatever the clock is, plan to skip the alternate feedings. Yes, for the people that just texted, if you have questions, you can absolutely ask questions here. We'll address them in a couple of moments. Plan to skip alternate feedings. Game plan number 3, if the baby is refusing formula, sometimes somebody other than the mother can try feeding. Because if the baby is smelling the mother, then sometimes that will be disheartening for the baby. They will scream until they get nursed. Give the bottle to another member of family and try feed the baby. There might be some screaming. That's your opportunity to take a nap. But try it this week. Try it before Yom Kippur starts. If the baby has thus far refused formula, has refused some kind of milk substitute, has refused taking from a bottle in general, try in some way, shape, manner, or form to get somebody else to feed the baby. And with that, we are running a minute and a half late. I apologize, but that concludes our very brief, but hopefully complete fasting on Yom Kippur for pregnant and nursing women. Any questions that anybody would like? We are still online. There's some questions that are coming through at the moment, and Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, we will be able to address anything as they come. I wish everybody a Gmar Chasima Tova, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should fill and fulfill all of your requests. Kol Mishalas Libchem L'Tova, that it should be a good, healthy, sweet, beautiful year, that the fasting on Yom Kippurim should go smoothly and well without any hitches or hiccups, that everything should be amazing, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bless everybody with Arichas Yomim Shanim, a long, good, happy, healthy life, with healthy babies. Kama Yavron, how many amazing pregnancies will there be? The Kama Yibari'un, and how healthy are they going to be? HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help each and every one of us, that our family should be healthy and well. And let's take a look at a question. What if you just had a baby and your milk supply is very dependent on you nursing, supply and demand? In previous babies, it has dried up your milk. This does not make it makes mental health weaker and gives me a lot of anxiety. What does somebody do in such a situation? So, in the situation that in previous pregnancies, in previous nursings, previous babies, milk has dried up. So then, and the baby is not going to take anything else, and hydration isn't going to help. If you are worried, then yeah, drink shiurim, absolutely. If the baby's not going to take anything else, and this is something that is significantly going to affect mental health, then yes, absolutely, you should be drinking shiurim. Again, depending on the age of the baby and the stage, sometimes Yom Kippur is like the end of the nursing period, and like, okay, Beseda, they're already onto milk bottles, and like, you ended a week earlier than you planned on. Beseda. That's not usually that disheartening. But if you're talking about an infant and there's real concern that they're not going to be able to take a bottle well, and they're not going to be able to feed properly, and it's and they're not and there's concerns for being underweight or being under nutrition as a result of not having breastfeeding, and the milk might dry up. So then, yeah, you should absolutely be taking shiurim. That is certainly applicable to Yom HaKippurim. Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach. Any other questions that come up, feel free, just hit the link, brswest.net/zoom, and you'll be able to take a look at that link. Feel free to share this share with the link that was posted for anybody else. And Gmar Chasima Tova. Have a good, sweet, beautiful, and healthy year. And hopefully davening for all of our children, that everybody should be well, and everything should be as planned.